This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Child protection. Social workers speak out about what they're calling a crisis.
AI in the classroom. Halifax has new guidelines for teachers about artificial intelligence in schools.
And Baddeck Arena. Plans for a new community rink come with a hefty price tag.
Clear skies, chilly temperatures to start Friday, but increasing clouds and a few showers rolling in. Your full forecast is coming up.
Good evening. Two Nova Scotia social workers are speaking out about what they call a crisis in child protection, pushing for more government accountability and resources to help them do their jobs properly.
As the CBC's Andrew Sampson tells us, the social workers are warning if things don't change, children could be harmed.
Stephanie and Emily have worked in child protection for a long time, but these days they're not confident they have the resources to keep kids safe.
I am seeing a constant state of chaos. People that work in child protection are there because they want to do better for people. Right now, we're barely meeting that mark. When we can't do our jobs, we're leaving kids in really vulnerable situations, and so we're facing these moral decisions, like who gets our attention, and those are kind of the decisions that we're making on a daily basis.
CBC News is using a pseudonym for both workers who fear reprisal for speaking out about the state of their department. The workers agreed to talk after seeing one of their worst fears realized earlier this year. In February, a 6-year-old was stabbed in broad daylight in downtown Halifax, allegedly by a 19-year-old girl. Her mother says she warned police, doctors, and social workers that she was dangerous.
This is an example of a family that has tried to reach out, has come in contact with the child protection, and we see this every day where we cannot respond adequately or connect people to resources to help these families in crisis.
Last April, a team of social workers sent a letter to the Minister of Community Services, demanding action and an urgent meeting. They cited high caseloads and frequent turnover, warning that if nothing changed, the continued lack of action on the part of the government will result in the death or significant injury of a child. The letter received no response. A year later, both Emily and Stephanie want answers.
When a child gets hurt on my caseload, I'm very upset by it. I take it personally. I didn't do enough. I had no extra support. I had nothing. There have been many times where I have sat in my car and cried. But you don't tell people that very often because you're supposed to be able to handle it.
The Nova Scotia College of Social Workers is hearing similar feedback.
Social work services are really challenged by the current environment where we have issues with affordable housing, with food security, with income distribution, access to mental health and social services. And on top of that, we have a service that has continued to be undervalued and underfunded, which really creates a crisis in the delivery of it.
CBC News requested an interview with Minister Scott Armstrong, but he was not made available. In a statement, a department spokesperson said that instead of responding to the letter at the time, they provided an update to all social workers in the province instead. They said feedback had inspired a number of changes in the last 2 years, including increasing recruitment, better pay, and more admin staff, and that these changes have led to better caseload management and reduced administrative burden for social workers. Stephanie and Emily say they haven't seen these improvements.
We want acknowledgement. We want it to be known that things are hard, things are rough, and more is needed.
The first step, they say, is admitting you have a problem. Andrew Sampson, CBC News, Halifax.
There's more information tonight about the teenager who was arrested for allegedly making threats against a Halifax high school last week. He's currently facing 33 charges, some related to threats against specific students and for promoting hate online against the African Nova Scotian and Jewish communities. The CBC's Josh Hoffman reports.
The teenager who was arrested for allegedly making threats to Citadel High is now facing dozens of new charges. The 16-year-old was arrested at his home last week and was supposed to have a bail hearing Wednesday morning, but instead, several new charges were introduced by the Crown. Crown lawyer Terry Nickerson says he's received a mountain of evidence so far, including materials from 4 laptops and a cell phone, and he expects more charges to be laid as evidence continues to come in. As of right now, the teen faces 33 total charges, including uttering threats against 3 specific students at Citadel High. He also faces charges for making general threats against the African Nova Scotian and Jewish communities. According to court documents, the teen allegedly created online chat groups that promoted hate against these communities. Now, many of these charges are related to rifles, shotguns, and different kinds of air guns that were found at the teen's home. He faces 12 counts of possession of a weapon for a dangerous purpose and 6 counts of possession of an unauthorized weapon. None of these charges have been proven in court. The teen remains in custody and expected to return to court on May 12th for that bail hearing. Josh Hoffman, CBC News, Halifax.
A Nova Scotia provincial court judge has ordered a psychiatric assessment for a man accused of a violent attack on staff in the emergency department at the Halifax Infirmary in January. Nicholas Klum made a brief court appearance this morning. He's been in custody since the attack back on January the 29th. He's facing 9 charges, including attempted murder and aggravated assault. 2 hospital staff were stabbed in the incident, and one of them was critically injured. Klum will return to court at the end of this month after a psychiatrist has a chance to determine whether he should be held criminally responsible for the attack.
Northern Pulp's application for an extension of the company's creditor protection will be heard tomorrow in a British Columbia Supreme Court. The company said earlier this year that a feasibility study for a new operation in Liverpool determined the cost would be about $2.5 billion. But so far, there is not enough financing to ensure a guaranteed rate of return of 14%. Premier Tim Houston says the province has not been asked for support from the company, but would assess any requests. He says he supports the idea of a new pulp mill, but also thinks it could be viable without government support.
It's an expensive, it would be a new modern mill, so it would be an expensive undertaking, and I understand that they're looking at how that can be financed with private money, through traditional lending.
Meanwhile, the interim Liberal leader says that in an ideal situation, the company's business case would not require public money.
What I think government should be doing is setting the right conditions so that private sector comes and makes the investments in our province.
Government officials say they are not opposing Northern Pulp's application for more time to find financing.
Ryan Snoddon with us now on a day when we had lots more sun.
Yes, but a little cooler.
Yeah, definitely noticeably cooler. It's still a lovely day for the first day of May, but yeah, a step back from yesterday, and this is what it's all about this time of year. Single-digit highs as expected across Cape Breton today, into the double digits and teens across Nova Scotia, most of Nova Scotia, a little cooler Tri-County, and you can see Western Head, the hot spot for the second day in a row at 18 degrees. As we look at the Friday forecast, temperatures back into the double digits and even some low to mid-teens out there. We'll see some increasing clouds and some showers rolling in as we work our way throughout the day. Area of high pressure off to the south, and you can see that cloud fanning in through Friday morning. Couple of spotty showers starting to work their way in for Friday afternoon. The west is the best chance of seeing this, but can't rule it out for the metro area, and even back as far east as Port Hawkesbury by the end of the afternoon. The better chance will be through the evening into the overnight with some periods of drizzle rolling in as well. Saturday, that's where we kind of start, but it does look like we'll start to see some sunshine breaking through into the afternoon, and Saturday's temperatures will get your ears perking. We'll talk about that with the full forecast details coming up.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Do stay tuned. Okay, thanks
Ryan.
Thank you.
Well, you've probably heard the discussions around artificial intelligence and education. Many have concerns around plagiarism and misinformation when students use tools like ChatGPT. Here in Nova Scotia, the Halifax Regional Centre for Education has created new guidelines for teachers when it comes to using AI in schools. Linus Mulheron explains.
David Waugh and his students at Eric Graves Junior High are getting a hand from an attention-grabbing assistant, artificial intelligence. This is thanks to new guidelines from the Halifax School District for using AI in the classroom, the first of their kind in the province.
You know, we're dealing with kids who are watching TikTok who have short attention spans, and if we can be using AI to make things more exciting and more interesting for them, that's great.
The guidelines provide teachers with suggestions for using the technology safely. That includes things like not putting personal information into AI tools, monitoring students so they aren't exposed to harmful content, and disclosing when artificial intelligence has been used for school projects.
We can't ignore that artificial intelligence is here. It's quickly embedded itself within our society at large. So we need to talk about it. We need to have these conversations with our students so that they're informed users.
Some of WA's students see the value in adding AI to their education.
I feel like it's going to be much more utilized, like even 5 years from now, 5-10 years from now, for things like jobs. So I think it's very useful that at least we learn the basics of it, so we understand it in the real world.
School boards and universities across North America have had mixed reactions to the use of artificial intelligence, ranging from encouraging its use to outright bans. But WA sees more teachers shifting their perspectives.
The attitudes of AI have changed massively in the last 2 years since, say, December 2022, when ChatGPT first came out, and it blew everybody away and scared a lot of people because they thought, oh, it's the cheating machine.
For WA, the experience is about getting students ready for the workforce, where many of them may come into contact with AI.
So we have to be preparing our students because that's our job.
Linus Mulheron, CBC News, Halifax.
Nova Scotia Power now says certain personal customer information has been accessed and taken in a cybersecurity breach that happened on April 25th. The utility shared the information in a news release late this afternoon. It says it will contact customers impacted by the data breach with further details and support. The company says there's been no disruption to power generation or transmission, but as the CBC's Hannah Vino tells us, some customers say they're being left in the dark.
Some Nova Scotia Power customers are concerned about what a recent cybersecurity breach means for them. James Walker has over 200 plants at his Dartmouth apartment that he wants to move to his new home in the Annapolis Valley. He says he is trying to get a hold of the company to confirm if the power in the home is still connected to the previous owner or if it has now been transferred over to him, trying to avoid a break in power service for his plants.
A lot of my tropical plants just won't survive in cold climates, at least not long term. So I don't want to go move in a giant collection, and also it's time and energy and effort and stuff like that just to go watch it die in a house.
On social media, the company is responding directly to customers, saying it's only handling emergencies and outages following the cybersecurity incident. Nova Scotia Power would not do an on-camera interview today, but says any updates they could share would be posted to their website.
The extent of it, is it just their customer service has gone down, or is it that they've revoked access to external users? Sort of just some idea of what the scale of it is. I'm not expecting them to provide all the details, but a few would be nice.
Okay. Earlier this year, Nova Scotia Power asked the Nova Scotia Energy Board for $6 million to enhance its cybersecurity. Nova Scotia Power says its investigation is ongoing. Hannah Vino, CBC News, Dartmouth.
People traveling to Dartmouth from Halifax tonight will only have one option of using the bridge, the one bridge. All Dartmouth-bound lanes on the McKay will close at 7 p.m. Halifax Harbour Bridges says the closure is to accommodate bearing replacement work that was delayed last summer and continued work on removing the McKay toll plaza. Halifax-bound lanes will remain open. The Dartmouth-bound lanes will reopen Friday morning at 5:30.
A New York-based airline is pausing its plans for a daily seasonal flight between Halifax and Boston. JetBlue says it's because of a lack of uptake. The route was just announced in January, but the Halifax Stanfield International Airport says travel to and from the U.S. is up so far this year from the same time in 2024. JetBlue says despite those numbers, bookings for the Halifax-Boston flight have not met expectations. The airport authority says no other airlines have reduced their services at Halifax Stanfield, and some are even expanding services.
An historic Nova Scotia courthouse is being shut down. The Provincial Justice Department says the Windsor Court will be closed by Canada Day and all matters will be transferred to the Justice Centre in Kentville. Windsor was the only part-time facility, while the Kentville Center operates full-time. Kentville is also fully accessible, while the courtroom in Windsor's building is on the second floor. An inspection in January determined the holding cells in Windsor were unsafe, so all criminal matters have been done virtually since then. For 50 years, the Victoria Highlands Civic Centre in Baddeck has been the heart of the community. But the aging facility was forced to close last year.
A local committee is hoping to build a new multi-purpose space to replace the old community hub. But as the CBC's Kyle Moore tells us, it comes with a hefty price tag.
It's been almost a year since the doors closed to the public. Mechanical and structural issues shuttered at the Victoria Highlands Civic Centre last June, leaving people in the area without a community hub.
Yes, absolutely in limbo. Everything is contingent on federal funding right now.
John Trickett is part of the steering committee leading the charge for a new facility. Victoria County has contributed $1 million towards a new build. There's another $5 million coming from the province. But that's a far cry from the total build cost, and the committee is waiting to hear if Ottawa will pitch in.
It's probably our biggest community building structure in this town. The whole community gets involved in everything that goes on here.
Area Councillor Jess Carr says the closure has had a major economic impact on the local area.
Terrible. Like, the restaurants are making nothing of it. Our motels are not opening for tournaments or anything like that. So
it's a big loss.
It's a huge loss.
We have 3 kids in minor hockey. They all played for our local association here.
Not having a rink in Baddeck also means more travel for parents and players.
For a family, it can be 4 to 5 hours of travel time in a weekday evening, which doesn't leave a lot of time for maybe other activities, homework, stuff like that. So it's a challenge for the players.
This rink is not just a rink, it's a shrine for our community. We need something to replace this, and I can't even stress how important that is.
The arena has been a second home for David Fraser since it opened in 1974. It's where he coached for 40 years and played the game he loves.
I mean, I love this rink, and it just means you can see. I get emotional even talking about it, and just not seeing it here, type of thing.
A new build will cost $25 million. The boards, glass, and just about everything else are for sale, in hopes of reaching their goal to have a new space to serve the community, much like this old barn has done for 5 decades. Kyle Moore, CBC News, Baddeck.
Yep, pretty nice night out there over
Beautiful
Halifax Harbour.
evening.
We've got Ryan up next with his weather forecast. We're back on the other side of the break.
Okay, what are we batting 1,000 with sunshine? I mean,
First
2
day
for
in
2
May.
at
Yeah,
least.
well, yeah, we're doing all right.
Hopefully you soaked it in.
Beautiful setup, huh?
Yeah, you guys lobbed it right in there for me. Yeah, listen, the clouds are going to be more dominant over the next few days, unfortunately, as we work our way towards the weekend. And this has been the way it's been for the last
the timing.
few weeks, for sure. The timing has not been great on the weekends, but we are going to thread the needle, I think, with Saturday afternoon, with some sun and certainly the mild temperatures, which are always a bonus this time of year. Have a look at our webcam video from this evening.
Pretty nice.
Yeah,
Very nice.
What a spot.
Burnt Coat Head, and yes, a fantastic shot there from Nova Scotia webcams. And let's have a look at where we are temperature-wise. We talked about that Western Head was again the hottest spot in the province today. 17 there right now. Still loving that northwest flow along that south shore, and that is not going to be the case for tomorrow as the winds are going to be shifting. And so yes, you folks that are feeling much cooler in through the north and east and along that Northumberland shore, going to see a bump up here in temperatures for tomorrow and into the Saturday time period. The current winds, you can see we're in the 10, 20, even 30 kilometer per hour range at last check. Some gusts upwards of 30 to 50 kilometers per hour in what has been a very windy stretch across Cape Breton, and that is going to be easing. Thankfully, that wind will be overnight tonight. That low will continue to depart. We've got this area of high pressure that's keeping things quiet and chilly for tonight. And this is the next system which is rolling up into the Great Lakes. That is going to be bringing the clouds and the showers. And yes, those showers will linger even into the early stages of Saturday. The mild air pushing up with this system as well. And we will indeed be tapping in to that warmer air. 20 degrees in Edmonton right now, 18 in Calgary, 17 in Vancouver, 14 in Winnipeg, 10 in Toronto. And you can see that coolest of air, Churchill, Manitoba, back up to Iqaluit, still below freezing there. So yeah, it's still spring for sure. Now, as we look at the temperatures for tonight, for the most part, we'll range between about +3 and -3. Low-lying areas in through the east and north are going to be the best chances of dropping below the freezing mark. But certainly some frost possible through the overnight as those winds are going to be really light. We'll see some clouds fanning in for Friday morning. Couple of showers, even by lunchtime, possible up towards the valley in Cumberland County. But the best chances are going to be across New Brunswick. And then we'll see a better chance for a shower into the afternoon for us on Friday, but overall, this is pretty spotty activity with these showers and even the possibility of a couple of sun breaks into the afternoon, but this is not going to be a washout of a day by any stretch. Better chance for showers will roll in towards the later afternoon and into the evening. Temperatures in Cape Breton ranging between about 9 to 14 degrees in and around the Bredor Lake area. This is where we'll see those temperatures rising nicely. 15 in through Antigonish and back towards Pictou County, 15, 16. So again, the southerly flow certainly favoring you folks tomorrow as opposed to today. Bit of an onshore flow, Parsboro model picking up on that around 9, 10 degrees there. Similar story, the metro area, low double digits, but inland will climb into the teens. And you can see 13 to 15 degrees through the valley tomorrow, but single digits along that south shore. Okay. Excuse me, Friday overnight and into Saturday morning, you can see the bulk of that activity will have pushed out. Now, Saturday with this southerly flow, fog patches, this is going to be like that kind of that late spring, early summer type setup we see so often. It's going to be sluggish in the morning with those fog patches. The fog will retreat back to the coast. We're going to see some sunshine developing into the afternoon, especially for inland areas and towards the north. Spotty, isolated showers possible into the afternoon, but they do look indeed very spotty. And this is where, with the sunshine breaking through ahead of the frontal boundary, we should see temperatures popping pretty nicely indeed. Into the 18 to 22 range by the looks of things. Could see some spots that even punch a little bit above that. Southerly flow along the Atlantic coastline is going to keep temperatures cooler. And the fog monster will be looming there throughout the day. Showers for Saturday night in through Sunday morning. Now, it does look like those showers will kind of start to pull away. Some forecast models sinking that frontal boundary further south at a quicker pace than what this model is showing. So not ruling out the possibility that Sunday afternoon we do see an improvement, especially over northern areas of the province, but the timing of that front is still uncertain. Back into the sun, of course, for sure, by Monday. Tom, and Amy.
Just in time for the
Typical.
workday.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Thanks
Thank you,
very
Ryan.
much.
Thank you.
Coming up, how a change to the minimum setback distance for wind turbines is clashing with municipal land use bylaws. The province recently established a minimum setback distance for industrial wind turbines from residences, but the new regulations don't align with some land use bylaws already in place, like those in Colchester County. And for two proposed projects near Debert, the provincial rules would reduce the minimum 2-kilometer setback distance by more than half. Mayors and wardens from across the province are in Truro today. The Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities Conference is on. Among them, Christine Blair, the Mayor of the municipality of Colchester. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
I gather this came up as a topic today at the conference. How are you feeling about the way this is playing out?
The municipality of Colchester worked very hard on putting bylaws in place with regards to wind turbines. And we consulted with the public over a 2-year period. We had open houses, we had information sessions, we had presentations to council. We met with people in their kitchens, in their living rooms. We had people knock on our doors. It was a consultative process that was collaborative in nature. We had wonderful communication and public engagement over two years. And we brought the setbacks into place. We passed our bylaw through council. It received ministerial approval. And then a couple of months later, we heard that the 2-kilometer setback was changed to 800 meters. That set us back about 10 years. So we weren't very happy with that suggestion, with that. Legally, we had to comply with what the province had put in place. So when we were doing our county-wide municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw under Bill 58 of the provincial government that was put in place some time ago, we got an extension to the 31st of March. We did turn it in before the 31st of March, but in that process, we had to change the portion of our bylaw to comply with the provincial legislation. What we would like to see as a municipality is a compromise. We would like to see the provincial government say, we will use these setbacks that we have put in place as minimum standards, and then look at the consultative process and the communication that you've had with your residents, and especially us because we worked on it for 2 years, and say, we will look at what you want, and if you have to meet these minimum standards, but we will look at what you are doing for your residents with their wishes, with their consultation, and then go from there.
Okay, I mean, the province, there seems to be a sense of urgency with the province, as the Premier has said in recent months, about getting projects off the ground faster, and that decisions need to get made, and that in the eyes of the province, this will actually help municipalities because it will sort of take some of that initial legwork out of the mix and say, okay, here is the minimum, let's proceed and we'll get these projects built faster. How do you feel about that?
We already had 2 projects going at the time this change was made. And both of the companies, the one that's working on Higgins Mountain and Everwind project, agreed to the criteria that we had put in place. They agreed with the bylaw that Colchester County had. And they are actually, and we are absolutely delighted about this, they are going to continue to comply with that bylaw. So to say that it would slow things down, it's not slowing things down. When you sit and you talk and you communicate and you agree and you compromise and you work together over a period of time, you can reach an agreement that's reasonable to both your residents and your municipality and the companies that are putting the wind turbines in place.
I gather the Municipal Affairs Minister was there today, Mr. John Lohr, talking about this. How did his comments go over?
I wasn't speaking with him, and I didn't hear him talk about it.
Okay, fair enough. Some of the groups that have been vocal about this, some of them against the whole idea of the wind turbines, perhaps in the first place, or at least the purpose of them being built, have called this an overreach of the provincial government. It's strong language. Do you agree with that?
I would say that municipalities have rules and regulations to follow under the Municipal Government Act, and we follow those rules. We follow that legislation. That is that's what we have to do. If the province steps in and takes the authority away from municipalities on any issue, then I would question them doing that and say that it certainly appears to be a possibility that they could be interfering with the autonomy of municipalities under the legislation that they have put in place.
All right, well, we'll have to see and hear what the other municipalities have to say about this issue as well. Very good of you to take the time to talk to us today.
My pleasure. The other thing is, Tom, before you go, we do have an organization that is the voice of municipalities in Nova Scotia, and that's why we're here today and tomorrow with the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities. So if they wanted to step in and speak on behalf of all municipalities on this issue, we would welcome that as well.
All right, we'll see how that plays out as well. Point taken. Thank you very much.
All right.
Coming up, the Conservative Party of Canada and its supporters are taking stock of the federal election results and where to go from here.
And AI in healthcare. Researchers at McGill University are developing robotics and artificial intelligence to use in surgery. Welcome back. After an already unprecedented 6 months in Canadian politics, the next stop on the agenda is a new session of Parliament.
The CBC's Cameron McIntosh looks at the preparations.
Now elected, Prime Minister Mark Carney working through a long to-do list, setting up his government.
You have internal preparations to make, from staffing up your office to selecting your cabinet. Then, of course, externally, the Prime Minister has, and this incoming Prime Minister has an enormous amount of work and some really huge priorities that he's already outlined.
Chief among them, talks with U.S. President Donald Trump. Carney ran on a promise to protect Canada's economy and sovereignty from the U.S.
He's going to come to the White House very shortly, within the next week or less.
Carney also facing demands from the provinces. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith calling for a reset of the relationship between Alberta and Ottawa.
I will be talking with the Prime Minister and making our case very, very clearly about what it is that we think we need to do to reset and be that energy powerhouse.
Meanwhile, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has not spoken publicly since losing his seat in Parliament and status as opposition leader. Poilievre is said to be shoring up support to remain as leader. The Conservatives will need an interim opposition leader in the House of Commons.
Whatever decisions are made moving forward about how to represent our party in the House of Commons right away, those are going to be had. But at this point, I'm behind Pierre Poilievre as our leader.
Also looking for an interim leader, the NDP. Jagmeet Singh stepping aside after the NDP's worst showing ever, reduced to just 7 seats. The party will meet next week to plan next steps.
Absolutely, it's going to be a lot of work, but people don't become new Democrators, and we're going to come back and we're going to be there.
Election results are still being validated. One riding, the Quebec seat of Terrebonne, flipped from the Liberals to the Bloc Québécois. There will be a recount. Currently, the Liberals are 4 seats shy of a majority. The Prime Minister is expected to speak publicly tomorrow, with Parliament set to start on May 26th. That will include a speech from the throne, officially setting the new Prime Minister's course. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Ottawa.
The Conservative Party of Canada and its longtime supporters are taking stock of the federal election results. The party hit a generational high in its share of the popular vote, but as Nicole Williams reports, some Conservative voters are questioning the direction of their party.
We'll be guided by a warrior culture, not a woke culture.
It's speeches like this one that galvanized many Conservative voters, leading to major gains on election night. But it was also enough to push away some of the party's most loyal.
His antagonism just bothered me. I said, I can't vote for him.
For nearly every single election over the last 70 years, 92-year-old Carol Howes has voted Conservative. That is, until now.
I may not be around in 4 years' time to make any decisions like that. But if he remains head of the party, I don't think I could ever vote for him. I just don't like his style of politics.
She's part of a group that has been faithful to the party, but are now feeling alienated from it.
Everything feels broken in Canada.
Some suggesting leader Pierre Poilievre's tactics and rhetoric became too negative or too right-wing to vote for. Even some of his strongest supporters understands why some feel they no longer can.
I believe the Conservatives did what they needed to do, but they might have been too hard to step on the gas too early.
I think the Conservative Party of Canada was very good at pushing people away, not so good at pulling people in.
It also marks a growing divide between Conservatives at the federal and provincial levels.
I hope they do some soul searching on, what they believe it means to be a Conservative. There are many, many shades of blue.
This expert says politically centered voters that used to find a home with the Conservatives might now feel forced to vote Liberal, but that doesn't mean they're happy about it.
That crowd might have a hard time feeling comfortable voting Liberal given everything.
Some experts suggest if the Conservatives want to bring those people back into the fold, they need to spend less time catering to the fringes of the party and more time refocusing on values that bring it back to the political center. Nicole Williams, CBC News, Ottawa.
The U.S. is urging calm as tensions continue to escalate between India and Pakistan. Pakistan says it has credible intelligence that India intends to launch a military strike within days. Meanwhile, India is vowing to punish Pakistan after accusing it of backing last week's deadly attack in Indian-controlled Kashmir. Salima Shivji reports.
The outpouring of raw pain at a funeral for one of the 26 victims of the terror attack hasn't faded. The target of last week's violence, tourists visiting the disputed Kashmir region. The deadliest militant attack on civilians in 2 decades triggered a security crackdown in Indian-controlled Kashmir, with hundreds arrested. And police warnings for residents to stay away from militant groups. The violence has sent two nuclear powers hurtling towards the brink of war. Sworn enemies India and Pakistan both claim Kashmir in its entirety, but only control parts of it. India's government blames Pakistan for having what New Delhi calls linkages to the attack, a charge Islamabad denies. This key border crossing between the two countries is now shut, the airspace above closed. And India has suspended a crucial river waters sharing treaty that Pakistan downstream relies on. A move Pakistani officials are not taking lightly, as they warn India is preparing for military action very soon.
Any attempt to stop or divert the flow of water belonging to Pakistan, as per the Indus Water Treaty, will be considered as an act of war.
There's no effect yet from putting the treaty on hold. But panic and protests saying no to water terrorism are growing. There's also seething anger and a desire for vengeance propelling India's response, experts say.
So the challenge for Prime Minister Modi is to calm public anger. He has to keep the country united. At the same time, he has to deliver a response that's proportionate and calibrated.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has spoken to both sides, urging calm and de-escalation. As fears of more violence grow in Kashmir among a people yearning for peace and stability. Salima Shivji, CBC News, Mumbai.
There are alarming new measles numbers being reported by Ontario's public health agency. But cases are also on the rise across the country, and health officials are ramping up efforts to rein in the growing outbreak. Jennifer Yoon has more.
The number of measles cases in Canada is accelerating. Ontario continues to break the record since measles was declared eliminated almost 30 years ago. 1,242 cases of measles so far this year. Alberta is reporting 193 cases, and the majority of the people getting sick in both provinces are children who are unvaccinated or under-vaccinated. It's hard to contain because measles is so contagious. Symptoms include a fever, runny nose, cough, and a rash. There can be serious consequences: pneumonia, brain inflammation, and measles kills 1 to 2 people out of every 1,000 infected, even if they get the best medical care possible. But in some parts of Ontario, public health authorities don't know how many kids are fully vaccinated. Halton, Ontario reported less than a quarter of 7-year-olds fully vaccinated against the measles. But public health officials say they think more families have vaccinated their children without reporting it to public health.
Because Ontario lacks a real-time provincial registry into which all healthcare workers input immunizations at the point of immunization, Halton Region Public Health, like other public health units, rely on families reporting their vaccines to public health.
Alberta, on the other hand, keeps better track, but their vaccination rates are quite low in some areas. That's why the Alberta Medical Association is calling on provincial health authorities to do more.
We need to be seeing the medical officer of health probably on a weekly basis. We need to see vaccination clinics popping up. We need to make it easy for people.
We've requested interviews with the heads of public health in Ontario and Alberta. Both have said they are unavailable. Jennifer Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
The use of AI technology has skyrocketed in recent years, with many tapping into its power, including doctors, engineers, and students at McGill University in Toronto. Since 2023, they've been developing robotics and artificial intelligence to use in surgery. Our colleagues got a peek at what they've been working on.
This is our robot. We called it Terry Sarcobot, okay, Terry for Terry Fox. The idea of these robots is to help us remove these very deadly cancers as precisely as possible with less cutting, less blood loss, more precision.
The surgical performance enhancement and robotics is a part of our department's to contribute to the shaping of the future of the surgery. It has more than 15 students, and we have more than 10 specialty collaborators working with us, developing surgical technologies based on robotics and AI. Our robots are not going to replace surgeons. Rather, they are there to augment their physical capability, to augment their skills. Now, with that said, we want to develop artificial intelligence that basically learns from expert surgeons and transfers that knowledge to our robots. Basically, these are programs, right? They sit on a robot controller and they basically get cues from surgeons in the room or remote, and they operate under their command.
This is the project that is used for the orthopedic surgery. With this technology, they attach some markers and also using the robotic arm to align the bones during the surgery.
Technology will never replace a surgeon, but it will, I say, heighten our senses. And with this technology, not only robots, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, everything combined, we're able to attain things that are unimaginable in the medical field. And I think it will change in the next 5 years in something drastically different.
That work being done at McGill University in Montreal. Well, the calendar may only show May 1st, but summer has arrived in London. You're looking at sunbathers in St. James Park soaking up the record-breaking heat. The city was hit with temperatures reaching a whopping 28 degrees Celsius, making it officially the warmest start to this month on record in the UK. The previous record high for this day was 27.4 degrees Celsius at Loseemouth in Scotland.
The ice cream looked good there, didn't it?
The sunshine.
Well, the Montreal Canadiens were eliminated from the NHL playoffs last night in a 4-1 loss to the Washington Capitals.
But there is still some hope for the other Canadian teams vying for the Stanley Cup.
The Toronto Maple Leafs will take on the Ottawa Senators in Game 6 of their playoff series tonight. Fans on both sides will be nervous. The Sens face elimination and the Leafs face the pressure of underperforming in the playoffs yet again.
Also tonight, the Edmonton Oilers take on the Los Angeles Kings. They currently lead the series 3-2. If the Oilers win, this would become the 4th straight season they make it past the first round.
Canada's main stock index ended lower than after a choppy trading day, while U.S. markets jumped up on positive earnings from big tech. Let's take a look at the numbers as we head to break. All right, we were mentioning the NHL playoffs there earlier. I know someone was going to be very nervous watching television tonight.
And it's not me.
Listen.
Okay, Ryan, it's going to be fine.
I don't think it is.
He's a Leafs fan, by the way.
Yeah, I'm a Leafs fan, and condolences to your Habs, of course.
Yeah.
But I mean, young team, they were just happy to be there.
They're coming back.
Not so much for the Leafs. A little higher expectations. We shall see.
No pressure.
Let's have a look at our viewer picture of the day. And we were just talking off air about the trees kind of budding up here. Really, or the buds starting to open. In fact, really greening up over the last day or so, and that perfect tie to this from Falmouth. And a beautiful picture here.
So
Magnolia
nice.
trees starting there in
I
the
love
Falmouth
those.
area.
Yeah. They're one of my
What a
favorites.
milestone.
Yeah.
Yeah, Susan from the nursery there in Falmouth, and thank you to Susan for sharing this. She says she loves the show, and we appreciate that, Susan.
Great. Thanks, Susan.
Yeah, thanks for the picture, and thanks for watching Ryan's Picks at cbc.ca. Now, as we look at the forecast for Friday, you can see temperatures are going to be ranging between about 10 to 14 for most, but a couple spots a little higher, a couple spots a little bit lower, especially in those onshore southerly winds. And we will be watching the clouds increasing and the showers. Now for Saturday, this is going to be a nice and warm day, especially if you're inland and away from that onshore breeze, which will be from the southwest. Here's the timing. The high pressure area moving out, clouds moving in, showers pretty spotty Friday afternoon, but the chances there. The greatest risk will be into the evening and overnight. And then into Saturday, you can see that we'll have some clouds. The fog patches will retreat back to the coast. And that's when we'll see that sunshine starting to kind of break into the afternoon. And note that kind of green line working its way in. That looks set to hold off until the evening and overnight and into Sunday, where things look a little bit damper.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Well, back pain afflicts a large number of people, and with mixed success, a lot of people try a variety of remedies, but here's one your doctor probably won't prescribe.
Yeah, it's roller coaster rides, and a patient in Germany swears by them. Meet the patient. Ursel is 85. 13 years ago, she went on a ride on a whim, and pretty soon she felt something stretching.
Since then, she's added stretching of her own from childhood ballet class at the historic Tripstill Amusement Park. Has nothing against being billed as a cure for back pain and allows her to stay on until the pain is gone.
Okay.
Unconventional.
Yeah, very.
That's it for us tonight. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Good night.
Go Leafs.